I know people are going to tell me to get over it in regards to the January transfer window, but the truth is I can't. I just cannot do it. I thought it was a bad idea at the time, ending the transfer window, allowing Fornals and Benrahma, somewhat reluctantly after unplugging a computer, leave post-deadline day. But once they left, nobody came in. Thought it was a bad idea. We looked light. And there's been numerous games now, Gonzo, between then and now, where I sit there during the game and I'm generally thinking about the bench, who's on the bench, and thinking we're short. There's nobody to bring on. We're missing that attacking player. Now, it hasn't always been the case. Burnley, it was okay because Michail Antonio was on the bench. So we had an option. But arguably, our strongest team is one we've seen in the last two games, which consists of Bowen, Kudus, Paqueta, and Michail Antonio starting. And as a result, there's just no options on the bench. Now, I appreciate we're missing Maxwell Cornet. Now, he would be the winger on there, but we're missing one player. We're one player. That's it. One player we're short by, and the bench is completely unbalanced. There's a lack of options for the attacking part of the game, and I cannot help but sit there thinking that bloody January transfer window is going to cost us between now and the end of the season. Arguably, it already has, but it's going to cost us further. We're in a really healthy position right now. 9 games to go, 7th in the Premier League, fantastic. Quarterfinals of Europa League, fantastic. But I can't help feel we're entering what is the most important part of the season, at least one man short, in one hand, time behind David Moyes' back, quite frankly.
Yeah, I think with it for me, you've got to go back to the start. So is this an accident or is it intentional? I would suggest it's fully intentional. And the thing that leads me to believe that is that everybody was sat in their seats on the final game of the season, which I think was on the 1st of February against Bournemouth. And everyone was there. Stuyton was there. David Sullivan was there. And everyone was there. So had there been any urgency, had it been an error, which was what we haven't got a player. And now we've got to work really hard on transfer deadline day to bring somebody in, because the initial plan is for us to have a left winger. So let's hurry. Let's do a panic buy. Let's do a panic loan. Let's do something. The fact that there was no urgency whatsoever. Actually, we're going to just sit back here with our blankets on our laps and we're going to watch the Bournemouth game unfold. I actually do think would indicate that they were cool with that. That was absolutely fine. That was the plan, to go in basically from February all the way to May with that squad. And I think it's an absolutely bizarre thing, a really, really bizarre thing for us to do. So for that to happen, if that is the plan, and I have to assume it is for the reasons I've just explained, if that's the plan, certain things have to happen. We are assuming, or they are, not me, don't bring me into it, they are assuming Paqueta stays fit because it's shown the attack doesn't really function without him. We got to see that before the end of the transfer window, so we got good data on that. We are assuming that Bowen stays fit. We're assuming that Kudus stays fit. And quite a number of other things. The only thing I really think we probably tried to circumvent was, ironically, Alvarez not being available. That's the only position we covered off. Put to aside whether you think that was Phillips a good sign or a bad signing. Did we technically get cover for Alvarez? Yes, we did. But for them not to do it in the other positions must be that they must have been bloody certain. Not only would Antonio come back, Antonio wouldn't get injured. Or the final thing, which has probably annoyed me more than anything, is that somebody, and I think it's Ward-Prowse, or Ben Johnson, because they were both tried there, can cover off either those attacking midfield positions or those attacking wing positions. And for that reason, they've decided not to go with wing. And it honestly defies belief. And do you know what, Gio? It may work. It may work. But if it does, so many things have got to go right and nothing can go wrong. And I just don't understand why the risk was taken.
I half agree with that. We'll get on to that. 3 things. First of all, 3 bits of admin. If you're enjoying the video, please do drop a like on it by clicking thumbs up. Subscribing to Hammers Chat. That's the second thing, by the way. And the third thing is, because it's international break, it allows us to do things a little bit differently here at Hammers Chat, which means, can we get your video ideas, please? Basically, we're stealing ideas from you. You're recommending topics, and we'll discuss it. However, you can also get involved as well. If you've got a topic you'd like to have your say on, record yourself on your phone, landscape mode, email it over to us, and we'll feature it either on its own video, combined with other subscribers' videos, or myself and Gonzo will add to it as well. So if you talk for 2 minutes, we'll talk for 10. Put it together, make a video, and stick it up on YouTube. Happy days. Hammerschat@gmail.com if you've got any suggestions for us. The one thing I would add to that, do you know how you were saying they were banking on this, that, and this and that?
Yeah.
I think they were banking on all of it. I think they were banking on all those players remaining fit, plus Ben Johnson and or Ward-Prowse providing cover, and perhaps Antonio remaining fit. And even the even more wilder thing was Maxwell Cornet staying fit as well. The guy that hadn't been fit at all during his time at West Ham was suddenly going to become a viable option for the remaining months of the season. And when you said it's, like a plan, I think the last day or two of the transfer window, I agree with. I think they accepted that they couldn't get anyone, and instead of panic buying, they were going to go with what they had. But I do think during the transfer window, because of, and this depends on what you believe, I do believe we bid for Ibrahim Osman.
Sure.
And the reason I believe that is because the Danish FA put out a statement that they'd informed West Ham you're dealing with the wrong agent. So if you don't believe we bid for Ibrahim Osman, then you have to believe the Danish FA are lying. Now, I'm willing to believe the Danish FA on this regard. So I believe we did pursue Osman.
Yeah.
And obviously we dealt with the wrong agent. We didn't get him. We pulled the plug on that one. But what has become even more proof, in my opinion, is the fact that Brighton have now agreed a deal for him, which suggests that he was available in your January transfer window. If you spoke to the correct agent, you could probably get him. So the intention to bring in a left winger was there. Before the January transfer window, the managers publicly spoke about one position, and that was the left wing position. When he was asked about bringing in a number 10, he said, maybe, but I would like a left-sided player so I can move Paqueta centrally. That's what I want. I want a left-sided player. So the manager publicly speaking about one position, he never mentioned cover for Edson Alvarez. I believe he wanted Kalvin Phillips, by the way. I believe that was a Moyes signing, but publicly he didn't mention that.
Yeah.
He mentioned one position. We failed to get it. So I think the last couple of days there was a plan, which is we'll keep our powder dry until the summer transfer window. We can't get anyone. We're going to go with what we've got. In regards to the Kalvin Phillips thing, I think I really wanted cover for Edson Alvarez, and I would argue I've been proven correct now.
Yes.
And that is Alvarez is suspended for 3 of our next 4 games, crucial games. Newcastle, Spurs, the first leg of the quarterfinal Europa League, crucial games to be missing. So I think to bring in cover for Edson Alvarez was the correct thing to do.
Yeah.
Obviously, I thought Kalvin Phillips would be a hell of a lot better than he was. I thought he'd be a really good signing. Turns out he's been a really bad one. Will he be good enough? Probably not. I'm hopeful, but it's getting lesser. Gonzo is what I'm going to say. So I think that was the right intention. But the other thing I would add to what you've just said is, was it planned? Well, there's another bit of evidence, and that is the consistency. And the consistency in this is David Sullivan. And that is, we can go back to Slaven Bilic and Sam Allardyce, not Manuel Pellegrini, because he never had us in the Champions League places at Christmas. But Bilic and Allardyce did, and both times we did nothing in the January transfer window. We got to the January transfer window in a really good position and thought, nah, we're not going to back the manager. We're not going to back Allardyce. He's only got 6 months to go in his contract. We'll leave that Slav. We'll leave it. We'll get him Emenike. That'll do. He can have Emenike, and that's it.
Forgot about him.
And we've done it again this January transfer window. We've got in Kalvin Phillips, but we let 3 first-team players go, and 1 came in. When I did a video with Charlie yesterday, Charlie said, the January transfer window's concept is quite simple. Do not come out of it weaker than you went into it. And we did. And I think it's... Unforgivable is a strong word, but do you know something? That's how strongly I feel about the failure of January transfer window. And I know, like I said, I know people say get over it. I can accept it. I have to. But I don't have to get over it, and I won't get over it, because we've got a fantastic position right now. I think you could argue we'd be in a better one with a strong signing in January. Yeah. And it's just, this squad is thin. And you look at the difference between when we did our combined 11 on Sunday, Gonzo, for a little bit of fun, West Ham Villa. It was pretty even, weren't it? It was maybe 6-5 in Villa's favour. But tell you what, if you did a combined bench, I'd imagine it would be 9-7 in Aston Villa's favour.
For sure.
That's the big issue I've got with the January transfer window. It's the third time in recent memory that lack of ambition showing, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. It really pisses me off, Gonzo.
Yeah, but I think this seems worse for some reason, because I think this is a bit of a dereliction of duty. Actually, is what I would say there, or just gross incompetence. Actually, to leave a squad as thin as it is, it's a good catchphrase, right? It's a pithy thing to say. The oldest, it's the second oldest, but oldest sounds better. It's the oldest squad. It's the smallest squad, and it's a squad that's going to be playing the most games. It's not all completely accurate, but it's good enough. It's good. Will we play more games than Liverpool? No, but we're in Europe, which is the point, and we're in the latter stages of Europe, which means
we will play more games than Newcastle United, Brighton, Chelsea, Wolves, Fulham,
yes.
the ones around us. We'll play more games than them.
Exactly. So my point is, it's not that inaccurate that you need to argue with it. It's making the point. Our squad is very old, it's very small, and we're asking to play loads and loads of games, and that is bad. That is, you cannot claim, that has to be incompetence, because you cannot claim that we've planned that. That's our plan. That's what we're going with. Because if you do, it sounds awful. But then you have, I don't know how to say this. There are people very high up in the club who are adamant. I'm not saying we did this, but I am telling you now, there are people high up in the club claiming that we made a serious attempt to get Wilfried Zaha in January. Okay, that's the claim. I don't know. I don't want to believe it. As I'll tell you why I don't want to believe it. Not anything to do with a player. I think our squad would benefit from having Wilfried Zaha in it. But the fact that there is a historical issue with Wilfried Zaha and David Moyes, which I'm not even going to say Google it. Patrice Evra blurted it out on Sky Sports News, or Sky Sports on the Soccer Saturday couch, or whatever it was. There is a really obvious reason why Wilfried Zaha cannot play at the same team, be in the same building as David Moyes, ideally. That would be advantageous. And if it's true, it means that the disconnect between the club and the manager would be horrendous. And just the whole thing looks desperate, be it going for a player that really the manager is not able to manage, in Zaha, or going for a player and getting the agent wrong. Looks really, really bad indeed. And then basically our rivals, who are Brighton, are right next to us in the league, them getting him in the end anyway. Us getting rid of Benrahma, who goes off and starts scoring goals for Lyon, and starts talking about being loved and wanted and all the rest of it. Pablo Fornals leaves and start again, scores a wonder goal in his first game, and we couldn't get any bit of creativity out and find out it was there all along. I think the whole thing has a horrendous look about it, and I get a little bit annoyed because this all feeds into West Ham fans' frustration, and that's never factored in when the media, and when the media are having a pop at us. I was very late to watch the 5-0 the Freiburg game, and particularly to listen to the commentary. And sorry, I know I digress a little bit here, but indulge me if you will. The commentator on that had a real bee in his bonnet about West Ham fans. He couldn't contain it. He actually, I don't know if you all discussed all of this.
We sort of mentioned it a little bit with Robbie Savage on Cool Calm.
It was the other guy. It wasn't Savage.
Savage was just as bad.
Right, but the bit I heard was, I would expect it to be, but I don't know who the main commentator was. But the level of his voice was raising, not because there was a goal. He said, West Ham fans have got to understand this. Antonio needs to be managed, and he betrayed himself. His commentary and the tone of his voice betrayed his bias. And it just, if you were to go and listen to that back, just listen to it back. It wasn't good, and it wasn't a good sound to be coming out of somebody who's meant to be impartial. And I just think there's so many of the media have this perception. They almost want to tell West Ham fans off. You feel as a West Ham fan, you're being put on a naughty step by all of this mob, right? And I think it's reasons like this which don't get factored into our frustration that actually it may work out. it may work out that we actually get through and it's okay. But if it does do, my word, there's going to be an awful lot of luck that's happened. It's got to be, all the planets have got to align. Everyone's got to stay fit. Everything has got to happen. And it's just a hell of a risk. And at the end of the day, Gio, I just don't know why we took such risky decisions in the transfer window.
Because Sullivan's not that bothered, I think. And getting relegated, I think he's okay with that. And if we can achieve something fantastic, the difference is this time round compared to the previous ones is we've got Tim Steiden now. We've literally employed somebody to oversee transfers and bring in players. And I still think, like I said, it all depends on what you believe. I still think when push comes to shove, Sullivan pulled the plug on the Osman thing because he had that Jota one there as well. I mean, you've got three different people in Steiden, Moyes, and Sullivan, all with different methods and ways and ideas. And if you said to Sullivan, what's the best way of approaching transfers? Oh, use your agents. You've got trusted agents, use them. If Tim Steiden had his trusted agents, that Osman thing wouldn't have happened. Say to Tim Steiden, what's your idea? Or maybe bring in young players that we can develop and possibly sell them for profit if we need to. Moyes, what do you want? Oh, a Premier League proven players, bread and butter stuff. If we could get Premier League proven players in, that would be ideal. You've almost got three people with what feels like a similar level of say, but ultimately one guy still controls everything. That's Sullivan, all with different ways of going about it. Moyes got his man in Kalvin Phillips, and the other one, it was almost like, well, we can't move. We've got to a point where we're just stuck. It's like bottleneck. We've got three people trying to get through one doorway. We're all shoulder to shoulder, all wrestling, going, oh, no, I went in the room first. You've got this horrible situation, and it's just not good enough, really. It's possible that whatever we miss out on come the end of the season, we're going to do it by a handful of points. Whether we miss out on European football altogether, there won't be much in it. 2 or 3 points maybe. If we get Conference League and miss out on Europa League, there won't be much in it. If somehow we got 6, we won't even be that far off 5th. I'm seeing Man United fans worried about Chelsea. I'm seeing Villa and Spurs fans worried about Man United. Well, the reality is we're not far away from Man United.
No.
So arguably, they should be worried about us. One significant signing in that January transfer window, and I say significant, just to play the level of minutes that Kalvin Phillips has. Phillips has not been good, but he's been involved. He's had minutes under his belt, and he would have had more had he not started so crap and then got suspended. Just enough to do that, just to cover Fornals and Benrahma, because neither were good enough. And I know Fornals has done good, but I don't believe Benrahma has done as good at Lyon. I know he started well, but I think he's tailed off pretty quickly. From what I can understand, his performances have been poor. But regardless, Moyes used them. Fornals and Benrahma, Moyes used them. And if one of them was available on Sunday, he would have come on instead of Ben Johnson. Probably.
100%.
Maybe not.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think he would.
We would have brought him on.
Yeah.
Against Burnley, we would have probably brought him on. When we went to Old Trafford, he would have probably played in that game as well instead of Ben Johnson right wing. And it's just incredibly frustrating. And the Zaha thing, I've kept my mouth shut because I don't want to believe it. If somebody at that club has said, let's sign Zaha, that is just ridiculous. Just throwing your manager under the bus and undermining your manager. But to even suggest bringing Zaha to the club, you might as well just slapped Moyes in the face. Honestly,
it's what an horrendous.
What an insult to David Moyes that would have been. Said, shall we sign Zaha? Honestly, I'm surprised Moyes would just, how do you take that? Do you not know what's happened, or do you not care what's happened? Neither is good. Either you know but you don't care, not good, or you don't know. How do you just not know? Everybody knows what happened.
Well, actually, not knowing is better, because the other one is you saying, "Can you let that go?"
So how do West Ham approach January transfer windows? as commander to let it go, you're not getting a new player. So there you go. Anything else you'd like to add before we wrap this one up?
No, before we put our foot in it, should leave it there.
I feel better now after my rant. That rant's been bubbling for a few games, actually.
Well, you mentioned it to me a little while ago. You want to talk about that, so yeah.
I'm sure the worst thing is it's going to come up again before the end of the season. There's going to be at least 2 more games where I sit there thinking that bloody January transfer window's cost us.
I hope it's only that few.